Hello from Bali. This is the podcast Pigeon of Peace where we do discuss awesome skills of troubleshooters. Watch, listen, and check the description below for the details. Let's talk about freedom and let's start with the definition.
Freedom is the most valuable thing on earth. If you are a tree, you have a roots and you are fitting deep into the ground and you couldn't move and change your position. If there would be a fire, if there would be a flood, if there would be a construction, you still just wait and you could be cut or even burned. But if you are a person, you could change the place of your living. There is a saying in Russian language that fish is looking for a deeper place, but person is looking for a better place. And this right to look for a better place is your freedom. You're free to go to the job, you're free not to go. You're free to have your face in any church. You're free to enter network to search something.
And maybe I will start with a slightly different thing. It's like how exactly the one person or maybe even the group person, but let's focus on the individual, actually realize the boundaries or maybe possibilities that is given by the freedom. Because as you rightfully said, like maybe if the fish will never see the deeper ponds, it actually would never go there. So how to come to this realization that there is more?
It's not easy. For example, I have been to Europe. And I found that some small villages and cities, they completely flooded but by the people with the same family name because they all neighbors. And for example, they have like 10, I don't know how to say, 10 generation live on the same territory. By the way, when I have been to Mavrikien, it was the same. It was a prison. And the first 3 prisoners who were sent to this island, they divided territory, and then if a new ship will arrive, they just recruit people to make their guns and so gangs, so they have a lot of people who has their family name as given. So when I want to be free and you want to be free, when my freedom is ending, this is boundaries of your freedom. For example, I want to listen music very heavy and very loudly, but you want to sleep and you ask me not to do this. If I will do this like a gesture of free will, we will be like friends. But if I will make noise higher, maybe we'll have a fight. So people decided that it is better to trade and to have friendship than to make war and make killing. So when you choose freedom, you choose not to do some steps, not to steal, not to kill, not to rape.
And when we choose freedom, like whether it's a terminal point or again, like let's say I'm free, I can do whatever I want, or maybe my company free. But then the question is like, so what? Like how exactly we are going to use our freedom? So again, like the question is whether it's the terminal point, whether it's the destination, or maybe just like mean, or maybe it's a tool to achieve something bigger.
Maybe it's better to explain on your example. Maxim Golub was born in Kazakhstan. Then he lived in Omsk. Then he moved to Singapore. Now then he was working in Dubai, and now he live in Bali, and maybe will change the location when he wants to move further on. So you are free to go whenever you want. But for example, if you live in small village, if you have a small business, and you have, for example, I forgot how to say it, livestock, like cows and gooses and so on. So you could move in any moment because those creatures could die. Or for example, you are a gardener and you grow some peaches or maybe some grapes. You couldn't change your place very softly. And the same when you fear something. Let's remind our watchers about Second World War and First World War. People who can change their location, they were just going abroad and they saved their lives, but not all of them. Some were killed, some were captured, and some were murdered. The same, for example, was about how to create America. People from all over the Europe were trying to have a ticket for Titanic or some other ships, and they were going to establish new territories. And now America is a country of aventurists. Is it okay to say aventurists?
Aventurists or cons.
And cons, yes, correct. And they are very easy moving around the country. For example, if you will be American and you will looking for a job, you will go to special job site and you will put a mark. I'm looking in area of 50 miles. And sometimes people change their location from Tennessee to California, from California to Oklahoma, Oklahoma somewhere else. And it's quite normal to change the position. But if you will go to rural areas of France or maybe Greek country, people are living there for centuries and they have freedom, but they choose to stay where they belong.
And when it actually comes to, like obtaining the freedom, or maybe the fighting for the freedom, or maybe making attempts to go there, like how exactly it may look like. Maybe, like we could speak in terms of the knowledge, maybe we could speak in terms of the career or like any other efforts, but in terms of the framework, in terms of the mindset, maybe in terms of the willpower or energy, how exactly it may or will look for the one who is trying to go from 0 to 1.
There is a book written by Peter Thiel, From Zero to One, about startups, and you have a good you have made a good parallel. When you choose where to go to school or children garden, you probably will go the closest place to visit. But if you want to learn for higher education, you will choose as ambitious place as you could manage, and then you will look for a job and you could give your application to any company in the country by email or by paper mail, and if you will be chosen, you could be moved, you could be relocated, and you will stay there, maybe in headquarters, maybe in some regional division, and this is your free will. But for example, if you do not like your boss or culture of the company, you will choose to quit and you will say, come on, I don't want to be connected to this company, to this mission, to these goals, to these values. So I will go somewhere else. And we have a lot of books written by people who were working in huge companies and then they established their startups. By the way, if you will remember Bezos, he was working for investment company, and then he borrowed 300,000 from the parents who own, if I'm not mistaken, diamond mines, and he established Amazon, biggest online retailer in the world. It was his will and his freedom to make it.
And maybe the opposite thing, like sometimes, let's say you actually making it, you feeling that, like it's not really 0 to 1, but like at a certain point of time, you're feeling that, like you can move faster, there are more room that you can move in advance. Shouldn't be also the fear of losing it, because let's say like when we work for someone, we might be, like getting fired, things could be changed, the market could going down. When we in relationship with someone, we also, like might be feel so relaxed so that we could lose it. Or even in the business, we might be feeling like we predator, but in fact we might be just like a prey. So should the sense of fear, or maybe like a healthy risk management, also should be going hand in hand with the desire to actually move forward. So how exactly it works and how exactly it's being balanced, if it is at all?
Several months ago, it was an volcano eruption. Is it okay to say?
Yes.
Volcano, thank you, volcano eruption on Canarian Islands. And it was a lot of people who live close to the mountains, and a lot of seismologists, they were talking that it's quite a dangerous place and better to move from this area to somewhere else. And even Spanish king came to this island and he granted to all people who lose their homes another place to live. And he was very greeted by inhabitants of this island. But sometimes it's happened in different countries. I have seen people who live to something dangerous. It could be quite a high cliff, or maybe a volcano, or maybe a huge and unpredictable river. And they always say something like this: this is land of our ancestors, so we should stay on this position until we have no other choice. And for example, when I have been in Maldivian Islands, it was like, I don't know exactly, maybe 18 years ago. And it was quite after huge tsunami, which was broken to Bali, to Java, to Northern Timor, and some other islands. And people just rebuilt their homes from the scratch, and they were even in some way happy. And when I ask why you just rebuild your homes, you have already agreement with Australia, you could live there, and you will be granted by the land from Australian government. And everyone was saying, come on, we have like 20 years left until our islands will sink into the ocean because of warming of the climate and melting of the icebergs. So we will leave our last 2 decades on people where we belongs. And you know, it's very strange. I don't want to live somewhere where my house could be destroyed during the night, but those people, they want.
And I do believe there is a quality called tenance that, like means that you can't really be bent by all of the obstacles. And if we speak about those people, yes, probably they will have like a one attempt and then they just could lose or not lose something. But when it comes to, let's say, like fighting for the freedom, and I don't mean the physical fighting, but like in general, should the one actually be afraid to lose anything? Because, like sometimes all you need is just like your head functioning so that you can still, like build something and move forward. And sometimes you actually could be broken because, like you get so many like material possessions, like financial obligations, relationship obligations, so that it could be putting you down so you can't really move. So how about how exactly the person should go, or maybe the group of the people should go about, like making more and more attempts, like when they need to know where to stop and maybe say, okay, now I'm more or less free, I will settle down.
I will tell you a story which was told to me, to my grandpa. During Second World War, his family was captured by the Nazis, and they were asked to go somewhere with some belongings to be moved to Germany. And all of those people were collecting on the same place, and they were marching somewhere. And my grandfather told to my grandfather to run away, and he escaped. But all other people were killed. And when I asked my grandfather why all those people, they could run, but anyway they decided to go all together to the march of death, and he told me, if you couldn't overcome obstacles, maybe you could just embrace this with your people, with your nation, and maybe this is one of the way how you could explain your wishes and explain your freedom. And it's very strange. But sometimes you will see, for example, in Africa, in Kenya or Zanzibar or some other places where national parks are established, when a crocodile try to eat some small, I don't know, is it okay to say antelope?
Antelope, yes.
Thank you. Sometimes mother of this child would run into the mouth of the crocodile to be eaten, and he sacrificed her life to make your child live. And when you see this, it's quite often happen in Africa, and this is the reason why people try not to kill too many antelopes, because they show us way how to live. They are able to sacrifice, so they sometimes higher than we as humans.
Well, definitely it's a lesson to be learned, and maybe, like some of the principles to take away to live by. Then my last question will be how knowing about freedom could make this world a better place.
There is a small poem about Russian literature I learned like 20 years ago, something like this. When Russian writer wrote this novel, he was crying and he was sad. Then people who read this novel also will cry and will sad. So in the Russian literature, everyone is crying and always is going to be sad. And this also is a freedom. Sometimes you choose to struggle with something which is quite bigger than you, or sometimes you try to hesitate. Sometimes you will test other professions, other careers, other companies, and even territories. And if you're lucky, you will find your. There is a story about one guy who lived close to the Nigerian waterfall, and he is very famous because when he see people who are ready to jump and to kill themselves, he offered them to drink a cup of tea, and he saved during last 40 years more than 100 people. They just accept his invitation to drink a tea, and then they talk, and then he propose his help, and then after, people will come to him annually to say thank you for the saved life. And this is also freedom to save other people, to have strength in yourself, in your heart, not to be responsible just about your life and your way of living, but to save other people.
And we reviewed the skill of the freedom and how it could be helpful for you. Stay in peace.